Get it, get it, get it, get it, get it.
Welcome to Cajun Classic Cars TV. We're in the frigid north, the last frontier of Alaska, at the Fountainhead Auto Museum in Fairbanks, Alaska.
Here we go. Oh, yeah.
Way up north, to Alaska. Way up north.
We're calling this episode of Cajun Classic Cars TV, Cajun on Ice. As we've traveled to one of the most unique car museums in the auto world, the Fountainhead Auto Museum in Fairbanks, Alaska. Fairbanks, Alaska was incorporated in 1903 at a major point in keeping America safe during World War II and the Cold War, as it's home to Fort Wainwright, built in 1938 and operated by the U.S. Army. In 1968, Fairbanks became the supply point for the Prudhoe Bay oil field, an important part of the Trans-Alaska pipeline system. And you can't forget about one of the main reasons why people went way up north to Alaska. Pre-World War I, folks traveled there in droves to be part of the gold rush. But here at the Fountainhead Auto Museum, there's gold of a different type for us car lovers. Fountainhead Auto Museum in Fairbanks, Alaska is home to hundreds of pre-World War II cars. And we had the honor of sitting down with Willie, manager of the museum, to talk about the museum and what folks can expect when they come up here to the last frontier.
North to Alaska, I go north, the rush is on.
Welcome to Cajun Classic Cars TV. We're in the frigid north, the last frontier of Alaska. Figured while we were here, we'd go and take advantage of a wonderful place that if you ever come up here, you've got to visit, the Fountainhead Auto Museum. And with me is a manager, right?
Yes.
Of the museum, Willie, who knows everything about every car in here, from spark plug to rear end, right?
Maybe. You got to be careful about that expert opinion of people, because the definition of an expert.
And what's that, Willie?
An X is a has been, and a spurt is a drip under pressure.
Well, that's about
so
right.
I qualify for that.
I think we're going to have fun today touring this museum. Willie, when I lived in Alaska, I had a wonderful opportunity to visit the museum. But one of the things about this museum, it can be different every time
Yes.
folks come in, because you guys kind of rotate things out, right?
We do.
Yeah.
Yes.
How many cars do you have on display as we speak?
83.
83.
Yeah.
The museum has a total of how many?
I believe it's 143 at the moment.
143.
Yeah.
And you guys specialize in a particular era of cars, or eras of cars. Tell us about that.
Okay, we specialize in early, rare American cars. We don't do what we refer to as commodity cars. Mm-hmm. And so it's everything from the beginning to World War II. We won't go past World War II.
The oldest car you got is what?
1898 hay motor car.
Okay, and the newest, the baby of the bunch?
On the floor right now, 1936.
1936.
Yeah.
What is
Big
that?
Packard.
A Packard. I got you. And of course, but you're not only known for cars, but there's a sort of a fashion component here too. Tell us about that.
There is. If you look close between the clothing, we still have cars.
That's great.
Yeah, but we do have a huge collection of vintage clothing, mannequins, that kind of thing. A lot of it.
Folks, this museum tells a story not only of cars and of vintage clothing, but it also tells a great story about the history of Alaska.
Yes.
A little bit about that, Willie. Tell us.
If you look on the walls, the photos on the walls, they're all Alaska photos. And they tell the story of the same era as you're going through with the cars. The cars, the clothing, the photos, all follow the same time period.
And it's amazing to look at some of those pictures, because, today we might get stuck in a mud puddle, or up in Alaska we might get stuck in the snow. But it's amazing the perseverance that that the people that discovered Alaska early on had. The pictures just tell a great story of they were going through that snow no matter what, heck or high water or high snow. They were going to get where they're going.
Absolutely. And the problem is, we always think about, why did they take these pictures? how did they have the time to take the pictures? If you were stuck in the mud like a lot of these photos here, you were there long enough that you had time to dig the camera out and get a picture.
Right.
Somebody could get a picture.
I'm imagining some of those pictures taken with the big flash thing.
Yeah.
Nobody's smiling because it
Right.
took 20 minutes to take the picture.
Right. Yes.
Not only do you guys talk about the history of cars, but you've got evolution of bicycles to motorcycles to four-wheeled vehicles, and you've got a little bit of everything here.
And there's even a little short, fat guy
Mm-hmm.
that leaves his rig here.
Oh, really?
I don't know if you've seen it. It's above the entryway.
I have not.
Yeah.
When you said short, fat guy, I thought you were talking about me.
No. He takes it out once a year.
Once a year, okay.
And
Does he go around the world?
He does.
Okay.
And when that vehicle comes back in here, it's all covered with nasty stuff all over the front of it, kind of smelly. Yeah.
Could his name be Nicholas or something like that?
Could be. It could be Santa Claus.
Oh, that's it. There you
He
go.
actually is on the city council in North Pole.
That's right. And folks, there really is a North Pole, and it's right outside of Fairbanks, and you could visit Santa's house year-round, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, and so Santa's not that far away, so when he comes gets his sleigh here at the Fountainhead Auto Museum, he's right down the road.
You have to remember, when you're in this museum here, we're so unusual because we're the farthest north auto museum in the U.S. We're so far north, you're going to drive 13 miles south to get to North Pole.
Tell us your favorite car in the museum.
I think if I had to pick one car, it would probably be the 1906 Type 12 Polk Toledo.
Okay, why's that?
It's a twin to the first car to come to Fairbanks.
Okay.
And it's just a fabulous car.
Well, Willie, let's take a tour of the museum, shall we?
Okay, sounds good. Let's go.
All right.
This is kind of a fun vehicle here. This is a 1928 Stutz dual cowl Phaeton. So to get in the back seat, you lift this up. It has its own windshield. You bring it back down. It makes it much easier to get in and out of the car. And this is kind of an interesting area. We talk about bicycles at the time. You know, as you have progression of bicycles. Women had a problem with the bicycles because they had big baggy pant legs and skirts. So we built a custom bicycle for the ladies, and it's a chainless shaft drive bike. So you notice there's no chain on it, it's a shaft drive bicycle. And so then we had to progress into an automobile. So you look at this 1899 Hurdle, you see where the seat used to be and where the pedals were and the handlebars. It's two bicycles stuck together with a seat and an engine. Still runs and operates. It's a first four-cylinder car, or a first American car you could start from the seat. And it no liquid leaving in the fuel tank, so it gets a little over 50 miles per gallon on fuel. And that's it running in this video there. And this is one of the first four-cylinder cars in America. And this is a 1898. Hey, this is our oldest car. It's the only one they built, which is kind of fun. Ralph Nader approved fuel tank. But a couple of the things that's kind of fun is when you look at the engine compartment, we had to make all these gears new. What looks like the end of the pinion gear is actually the end of the crankshaft. So these two big gears here run constantly when the engine runs, one going each direction. So when you engage the forward clutch, the forward drives off the left wheel. You engage this clutch, reverse drives off of this wheel. So it's kind of interesting. A rare car here. This is our 1917 Owen Magnetic. This is our hybrid. Runs gas and electric. So you can actually drive it short distance on electric. use the regenerative braking to slow down. So it's kind of like the Prius, you know. One of the cars that I like to talk about a little bit is the early electric cars. This is 1912 Rock and Line. Now you notice it looks a lot like a Cinderella carriage. They were designed to attract ladies to drive cars in the city. Women at that time were wearing big hats, so that's why we have to have so much headroom in there. Completely original car. Some of the paint has been redone on it, but the upholstery is untouched. And one of the things that I find kind of funny, 90% of electric cars are driven from the left rear seat. So back in the day, chatting with a lady, if you said, well, ma'am, do you drive? And she said, yes, you'd say, are you a backseat driver? Which meant you drive an electric car.
So that saying actually has an origin that was legitimate.
That's where it started, and it wasn't meant to be derogatory. It meant you drive an electric car. This is our 1901 Rochester steam car, and it's a pretty impressive little car. We restored it. It got damaged terrible. The moving company that moved it put a strap across the floorboards and broke the car completely in two and destroyed the boiler and a lot of the plumbing. So this is known as the 1902 waterless Knox. So if you know what a porcupine is,
Yes.
this has got the porcupine engine. There's 1,750 cast iron quills screwed in that cylinder to dissipate the heat. No seat belts at the time, so this would be where you would put your expendable kids and mother-in-laws. So we have some race cars here, early midget race cars. We still run these. I take them out on the racetrack and push them off and drive around. Each one of these are capable of at least 100 miles an hour. This is our Alto power. You can see it running in that video. Just missed it there. But yeah, we keep them all out, running, driving. This little car here is a quarter midget. They were built for 8 to 10-year-old kids. And this car was actually raced here in Fairbanks. This is the first car in Alaska. And this is the car that Love built. This was built by a young gentleman named Bobby Sheldon in Skagway in 1905. And so it's kind of impressive. He'd never seen a car before in his life. And so he built this out of just parts that he could find around the docks down in Dyea out of Skagway. And he built this to try to impress a young lady. And she was being escorted around town by a young gentleman whose father had a very fancy horse and wagon that he was using. And so Bobby thought, if I could build something like an automobile, maybe I could win her favor and be able to escort her around town. And so when he donated this car to the University of Alaska in 1930, one of the reporters asked him, he said, well, Bobby, did you marry this gal? Bobby said, well, frankly, no, but 3 gentlemen have since. And this is a Model T. That's the first year for Model Ts, 1909. These are the cars that have Alaska history, Fairbanks history. This car came to Fairbanks in 1910. It's a 1910 Chalmers Detroit. It was bought new, shipped to Seattle, steamship into Skagway, White Pass Railroad into Whitehorse, down the Yukon into Central, then into Fairbanks. Got here in 1912 and has never left Fairbanks since.
And as you said, Chalmers?
Chalmers, Detroit.
As in the Alice Chalmers tractors?
No.
No connection.
No.
Wow.
No.
You could see why I would think that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
This car here, 1920 Chevrolet, Superior Series B, and it came to McCarthy in 1923, brand new. Came to Skagway and then came up into Valdez, and then came up out of Valdez on the railroad. Well, by 1962, the railroad had already shut down. They shut down in 38, and there was still no roads into Skagway or into McCarthy. So this car was flown out of McCarthy. So it was in McCarthy from 1923 until 1962. But it also has never left Alaska. This is the only horse and snow motor that actually runs and operates. You can see it in the video. Like I say, this is the only one in the world that actually runs and operates. And so they brought 3 of them up here in 1926. They were going to use them to haul fuel and supplies from Fairbanks to Barrow. And so they were okay, but they were trying to pull 10,000-pound sleighs. And so they would sink in the snow. And so once they did that, then they would sit there and they would porpoise kind of. They'd try to climb up and then fall and climb and fall. They made a total of 60 miles and they turned around and said, we wouldn't have enough fuel to get us there, let alone leave anything along the way. And so they were never used to complete that trip. But this sat here in Fairbanks for years, and I couldn't stand to see it just sitting outside rotting away. This is the oldest snow machine in Alaska. And of course, in Alaska, we call them snow machines, not snowmobiles. And this is a 1917 Snow Flyer. And I love to tell the story because I bought this off a guy in Hawaii.
Okay, how does that work?
Well, the vehicle was never in Hawaii. It was in Montana, but the guy that owned it lived in Hawaii. So, but it makes a great story. Some of our wax mannequins that we have, our big white steamer. This is a twin to the third car that came off the boat in Fairbanks. And the second car that came off the boat in Fairbanks is a big air-cooled Franklin. This is a twin to the 7th car to come into Fairbanks. There's only 3 of these known to exist today. This is a 1907 Pierce Great Arrow. Now think about this. This is 1907, and that's 65 horsepower. It's a monster. It's a huge car. And it's absolutely stunning and beautiful car. Little things that people don't pay attention to when you think about no computers. And the only way they could figure out how to make this work so that each cylinder gets the same amount of fuel is by the design of how the flow went. And they would do that with smoke. They would have that manifold, they'd blow smoke in there, and they would see how much smoke was coming out of each one. And that was their whole goal, was to get that to where it all came out the same. This is one of my favorite cars here. Early. It's a Pope Toledo, 1906, Type 12, Pope Toledo. It's got the Roy de Belge body, which the Queen of Belgium wanted her carriage builders to build carriages that looked like the furniture in her home. That up on top, that second picture, is the first car to come to Fairbanks. Now, Toledo was a car manufacturer like this one here. This is the only surviving Toledo gas-powered car in the world. 1903. Had a lot of firsts. Has an electric speedometer. Has a hill brake. So you look sticking down in the ground on the bottom there is the hill brake. So when you pulled up and you wanted to stop on the hill, you would drop that down there. It wouldn't roll backwards. And then as we had a problem with this here, we cured that too. Called a Fat Man steering wheel. Yeah. Here we are with this 1904 Rambler. And it has a feature that if you're building a hot rod today, that you're gonna want roller rockers in them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you look underneath there, it's got roller rockers right out in the open. So it's kind of fun when you think about there really is nothing new today. And this is an interesting car over here. This is our 1904 Buckmobile. And it has wooden suspension. The leather on the seats on this car, and every piece of wood except the right front suspension plank is original from 1904.
We've been having a blast here at the Fountainhead Auto Museum in Fairbanks, Alaska, talking with the manager, Willie, and his knowledge about these cars. We could put together a 26-hour episode and still not get everything done that we need to get done, and we know that Willie's busy. So this is sort of part one of our Fountainhead Auto Museum video. Be sure to look up the next one because we're going to sneak away from Willie and do a tour of some of the other cars we've seen here. We want to thank the folks at Explore Fairbanks, the Fountainhead Auto Museum staff, and I'd also like to thank my little girl, Claudia, for helping video. I think she did a pretty good job for somebody who hasn't done this before. Thanks for watching Cajun Classic Cars TV. Be sure to like and share this video for your chance to win a free Christmas ornament from the gift shop at the Fountainhead Auto Museum. Thanks for watching this episode.